Welcome to Leadership Moments.
In every great leader's life, there are pivotal moments that shape their character, test their resilience, and awaken their vision.
Together, we'll uncover the invaluable lessons hidden within these transformative moments. Well, believe it or not, it is already December. As we wrap up the calendar year, it is a great time to pause, step back, and reflect on your performance and career while also making plans for yourself and your team as we head into the new year. I am Stacey Castor, and I am your host. We're going to review some best practices on how you can successfully set yourself and your organization up as we head into the new calendar year. First, let's focus on you. When you think about your leadership growth, it is critical you perform an annual leadership reflection. In a minute, I'm going to go over a list of questions that you should ask yourself. So go grab a pen and paper. Now, if you're driving while listening to this, like a lot of our listeners do, so you won't be able to write anything down, no problem. Transcripts of our episodes are also made available, and you can also DM me at StaceyCaster_ on Instagram, and I'd be happy to email you a worksheet that I use with my clients that walks you through these questions. Now, to get the most out of this exercise, make sure you set time aside when you won't have any disruptions. This is a time to be selfish and focus on you. Remember, when you grow in your development, so do those around you. All right, now let's reflect on the past year by asking yourself the following questions. What are some of those things that you wish you would have accomplished this year? And why didn't you? Next question. What are some common challenges or roadblocks that tripped you up? If you could have 3 do-overs in the past year, what would you change? And why? Who came into your professional life that supported you in moving ahead? Understand how they supported you, then please take the time to thank them for their support. Who got in your way? Understand how they got in your way to identify how to change this moving forward. Is what you built this year sustainable? If you built this past year working 80 hours per week, it is probably not sustainable. In what areas did you settle? What triggered you in settling? Consider the environment and actions of others or of yourself when thinking about this. Did you give this past year your best effort? And if not, why not? This one is where it is also important to be truly honest with yourself, although it may be difficult. Now, did you feel supported in your professional life or feel like you were out there on your own? If you don't feel supported, what can you do to change this? And think about how much more you might be able to accomplish by gaining more support. Did you question your decisions, your abilities, or your contributions? And if yes, in what ways? Now, the next question is one of my favorites. While it's also difficult to answer to ourselves sometimes, what have you been lying to yourself about? And how much of the year did you spend criticizing yourself versus how much time was spent backing and encouraging yourself? All really good questions that I want you to later take the time and think about. Now, take this reflection over the past year and use it to plan for the upcoming year. So here's some questions to consider in doing that. What are some of the goals you'd like to achieve this upcoming year? And are they measurable? What skills do you need to acquire this upcoming year to make it a powerful year and grow your professional abilities? Who can you ask for help this upcoming year? Who knows how to get where you want to go? For example, maybe you need an executive coach. What habits can you change this year that will support you? And are they measurable? So important when you're making changes or goals that you measure them to make sure you're actually moving forward like you like. This is another one of my favorite questions. Who do you need to spend less time with this year that is otherwise a drain on your life? Not always easy to answer or admit to. And what can you do over the holiday season to prepare yourself for the upcoming year? Can you find a way to focus on your strengths rather than trying to fix your weaknesses? And when was the last time you took time to put yourself first? Make a list of all of your responsibilities, and then where do these responsibilities to yourself rank? I often talk about how paying it forward is so critical as a leader. So ask yourself, how will you give back this upcoming year? And finally, list one word to describe who you want to be in this next calendar year. Now, as I've mentioned, it is so critical to focus on yourself and do this reflection for you. Once you have clarity about yourself, you can now focus on your team. Let's talk about some things that you can do focusing on your team. Year end is a typical time for organizations to complete performance reviews on each team member. Performance reviews should be viewed as only a formality. The reality is you should be discussing performance on a regular cadence with each team member already. If you ever deliver a performance review and the team member is surprised, that is on you as their leader. That means you have not been communicating as clearly as you thought you were. Now, during performance reviews, formal or informal, make sure that you are as specific as possible. Give examples, not general statements. Why is the team member performing well or not well? For example, what happened in that specific meeting or with that specific project? Always give at least one opportunity to help them advance. Then discuss how you can support them when working on this opportunity. Consider how they leverage their strengths in a different way to help them continue to develop and grow. As their leader, it is your responsibility to help set them up for next steps. Collaborate and work together on this. When it comes to performance and development, you must be specific. Do not generalize. This almost always leads to ambiguity and misalignment. Now, if your organization has a performance rating system, then I highly recommend you perform a calibration session with your leadership team. A calibration session ensures alignment to the organization's rating scale to ensure all leaders are evaluating team members similarly. This is critical in larger organizations where you have the same role spread across multiple leaders. For example, let's say I'm an engineer and I'm on Team A, and the leader of Team A rates me a certain way. Then I move over to Team B. I am still performing in the same role and in the same way, although the leader of Team B rates me differently. Do you see the problem that this could potentially cause? It is not only confusing to the team member, but also disruptive to the organization due to the lack of consistency in performance management. Consider how individual conversations may be occurring or not occurring throughout the year if these leaders see it differently during the formal review. Therefore, leaders must be consistent in how they rate across the organization. Now, there's many do's and don'ts when facilitating a calibration session. And if done incorrectly, you can actually do more harm to your leadership team and organization. So please ask for assistance in facilitating a session like this if you have never done it before. This is not one process you just try and learn along the way. January and February are historically known to have increased recruiting and hiring in organizations. This is because many organizations' fiscal year is in line with the calendar year. So now they have a new budget where they can have funding for hiring. So what does that mean to you? Well, it means that your organization is at risk of losing team members even if they're not actually looking. A recruiter could contact them and show an opportunity that looks better than their current role or organization. So, the way to get in front of this is by spending time with your team members now. Be intentional about a development plan for them and build it with them so they know that you are serious about investing in them. Consider other factors that you can do proactively as retention plays. Some organizations implement long-term incentive compensation programs, enhance their benefit offering, or lower their benefit costs to their team members. There are many levers you can pull, but you must listen first to make sure you're meeting the needs and wants of the team members. Then you can make sure you are pulling on the right levers to be effective in wanting team members to stay in your organization. Now, this also leads to talent planning, which I help facilitate for many of my clients. This is sometimes referred to as succession planning. This is taking the time to first identify critical roles for the organization, then evaluating each team member, their performance in their current role, while also reviewing what other roles within the organization they may be able to perform in. Then you complete a detailed talent plan for each identified high potential team member to ensure their development plan is aligned with the succession plan. Now, I recommend to all my clients that talent planning should be performed at a minimum of 2 times per year. While quarterly is best practice for fast-growing or changing organizations or organizations in a volatile industry or unstable economic times. As you wind down the year, make sure you take the time to reflect, learn, celebrate, and build a plan for growth for you, your team, and your organization. Remember, it starts with you. So make the time, and if you need help, reach out. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gave you enough guidance to encourage and assist on this reflection as I do with all of my clients. Thank you. And that concludes another episode of Leadership Moments. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights in what we shared today. Remember, leadership is not defined solely by titles or positions, but by the choices we make and the moments that shape us.
Embrace the challenges that come your way. They may be the very moments that propel you toward greatness. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories as well. Connect with us on our website at leadershipmomentspodcast.com or through social media on Instagram at tap_be the game changer.
And Stacy Castor _. Remember, your leadership moment could be just around the corner, waiting for you to seize it. This is Stacy Castor, and what doesn't challenge you won't change you.
This is Tracy Ann Palmer, and be the change you wish to see in the world.